got to talk. I got to tell what I feel. I got to talk about my life as I see it.
Wiggy.
Wiggy, 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 can't you see?
Tremaine Wiggins has an opinion on everything.
Marathon runners, athletes,
No.
aliens.
I don't believe in him.
How about the Spanish Civil War?
You know, I thought it was a war that really didn't need to be fought.
Shit only Wiggy can think of. It's Wiggy's World.
Yo, what up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Wiggy's World Podcast. I'm your host, Jermaine Wiggins. I got my man, producer Mark, in the building. I've always talked about this, how I felt like marathon runners are not athletes. Anybody can do it. But guess what? On today's show, we actually have a competitive runner. Somebody, I'm not talking about one of those runners who run the marathon just because their boys tell them to do it. I'm talking about a motherfucker who was a 3-time All-American and was sponsored, somebody who got paid to run. And I'm going to tell him he ain't no damn athlete. We have a special guest on the show today, Chris, who is a competitive marathon runner.
Hold on a second. Because I have a whole list of accomplishments that this man has had.
Right. All right, give it to
I don't
me.
I don't want you to underplay who we have in the studio here.
Yeah,
okay?
thank you, Mark.
Listen, no problem. This is a 7-time high school state champion. Okay. Chris, I don't know what the hell this is, but 2-mile boys New England record holder.
So I still have. I broke the New England record for the 2-mile. So no high school boy in all of New England has ever ran faster than me.
Okay. In college, 3-time All-American.
Okay.
And second fastest 10K in NCAAs in 2010.
Yeah, in 2010, my last year in college.
I'm not done.
Okay.
This dude was sponsored by New Balance and Asics.
Okay.
So literally making a living for years off of running. So this isn't just some motherfucker off the street that's just like, oh yeah, I run on the weekends.
Right. So that's what I said when I wanted to talk to a marathon runner, somebody that is
competitive runner.
Competitive.
I also coach. I coach a couple Kenyan athletes right now. So
he coaches Kenyan athletes.
Right. So I didn't want to just bring some random Joe Schmo said, you know what, I'm going to lose 20 pounds and run the marathon this year. So Chris, his accomplishments.
Chris Barnicle, yes.
Chris Barnicle, his accomplishments speak for themselves.
Thank you.
And I will say this, and I've said this before, that I think people who run long distance and what they do is very difficult. I will never take that away from them. But I just don't see runners as being athletes. I feel like you could get anybody, teach them how to run, and they can run competitively at a marathon or long distance running, not just necessarily marathon,
so
5K, 10K.
Is a sprinter a runner? Is a weightlifter an athlete? What's our definition of
an athlete?
Let's start there.
Okay, for me, the definition of an athlete is this: somebody that has the ability to has the fast twitch muscles, stopping on a dime, being able to run full speed and change direction, being able to change his speeds, being able to have to somewhere in there if they're running have to jump or alter the direction that they're going.
There's so much of that in running. There's so much of that in running.
Hold on, let me finish here, Chris. The ability. There's not that in running because you just run one way. You run straight. Show me the ability to run 20 yards, stop, turn, swivel the hips, then come forward. The ability to run, jump, and have all these things going on. To me, it's about athletic coordination, and an athlete is somebody who has the skill to be able to hit a ball as it's traveling toward them, or shoot a puck, or shoot a basketball. There's multiple things going on. I feel the same way with runners, long distance runners, cyclists, sprinters, people who swim, swimmers. There's no real other movements besides the God-given ability to run, which we all do.
But very one-dimensional.
Yes.
So if it's too one-dimensional, it's like, well, okay, like how about like the mile distance?
Right.
The mile distance is a perfect example of how runners are amazing athletes.
Okay.
So like a classic miler. They have the strength to be like a great cross-country runner, like 10,000 meters. Yet at the same time, they have to have the speed to be able to run a fast 400. So the mile is a magical distance because it's exactly where the anaerobic system is 50% and the aerobic system, your endurance. So your speed and your endurance exactly 50%.
Yeah, but isn't that, Chris, isn't that all cardiovascular? They have extreme conditioning, right? But
like a sprinter at the same time, like some of these best milers, like the best miler in the world right now, like he could probably run a 400 meters, like probably in 45, 46, 40,
right, because
44 seconds.
But I look at that as just having, but he could never compete with a Usain Bolt because speed is a God-given gift that you get, and you're either born with the speed that sprinters have, 100. I'm talking about Olympic sprinters, those type. But I think as far as, and I've always said this, people who run marathons or who do that, they can work over that over time. You can't take a marathon runner and then throw him on a football field and say, okay, I need you to run 10 yards, break down, make a right, catch a football, then avoid a guy and go. You could take a football player and say, hey, guess what? I'm going to train you to run 5K.
Can you?
Yes.
Can you get like a football player to run a fast 5K?
I don't know.
Can I get you? I'd love to coach you, Jermaine.
Yeah,
let's start a training program. He's gonna run Boston next year.
Yeah. See, for me, you gotta understand. I'm a washed up football player. My days of competitive doing anything over. But I think you could get somebody right now who's a football player, a basketball player, baseball player in high school, very tremendous athlete. Grab them and say, okay, I'm going to turn you into a competitive long-distance runner where you can compete. You might not win a marathon, but you'll be a guy that has the ability to compete. I don't think you could do that with somebody who's running cross-country right now and say, I could turn you into a tremendous football player. I just don't see – it doesn't take much to run, does it?
But I think absolutely. It does take. It's like, I'll talk about myself, like not to boast myself. It's like I was like a middle school hockey player.
Right.
My dad loved hockey.
Right.
So he was like, I was 5 years old. He's like, I'm going to put the kid in ice skates, you know? So at age 5, I started playing hockey. And I was good like from 5 to 12. Right. And then I had this weird growth spurt at 12 years old. And I didn't gain weight, but like I stretched out.
Right.
So now in hockey, like your age 12, 13, you're finally allowed to hit.
Right.
And like my shot, like it didn't matter. I was getting knocked on my ass.
You wasn't strong enough out there.
Exactly. But then like this talent, this like stretching out that I got, we had to run a gym mile. I wasn't a runner, but something that day, I was like a weird fucked up, can I swear?
Yeah,
oh,
swear.
fuck yeah.
Say what you want.
I was like a weird like kid, like I was going through some, like my family was getting divorced. There was a lot of shit in like my life.
Yeah.
Right.
So just that day on the gym mile, I said, fuck it. And I just pushed myself to the brink. So I ran a 5:21 mile as a 13-year-old kid, never having ran a mile before.
But do you see that, though? You went from a kid who played hockey, got to a point where maybe you weren't too good of a hockey player and you're stretched out and the sport wasn't really for you, and maybe you didn't necessarily have that coordination, because there's a lot of guys that play hockey
but
that
more
are tall,
so it's
small.
talent. That to me is like God blessing me, like God saying you're not meant to be a hockey player, because running has given me the ability to travel around the world,
and I don't take that away from you. Like I said, your accomplishments are amazing, but now you were able to make the transition from playing hockey to not being the greatest hockey player to now being, like you said, a very accomplished runner. So,
but that 5:21 mile, it came off no training.
Mm-hmm.
It literally.
But doesn't that go to Wiggy's point then? That you play hockey for years, right, to gain a skill set and become good. Whereas with what happened with you, you were able to run a 5:21 just like that
with no training.
But his point is talking about talent. Like how anybody can run like a race, but like. Can anyone be a great football player? To be a great runner, not everybody can be a great runner.
Okay, so he
and
was.
I don't want to sound like an asshole here.
This motherfucker's good. He's
I trained at the University of Arkansas, where we had the winningest coach in NCAA history, 42 NCAA titles. Right. So we were the best.
You guys were the shit. You guys were the New England Patriots of running. And I wouldn't take that. I like I said, I'm not knocking the accomplishment. I'm saying that you could take somebody that has some type of let's say, God-given ability to be a runner or something like that, and you can maybe make them into a gifted and talented person that can ultimately set a lot of records or accomplishments. You don't need, when I say you don't need much skill, you just need the ability to have 2 arms and 2 legs, and then if you have it, we can teach you to be a runner.
But all of it in anything in athletics,
Right.
all of it, I think every great athlete has a lot of determination. Would
Right.
you agree?
You would need that, yes.
You had that too.
Yes.
You and I both
But
share
that's
that.
something
That's why we're both
right,
athletes.
But that's something, no.
Yeah.
That's something, determination and will to win is something that you're not born with that. That's something as somebody who competes, an athlete or a competitive runner in your situation, that's something that you have to find within yourself. You know what I mean? You have to find that. Like, born with a...
It's innate. It's innate
Right,
sometimes for a lot of people.
Born with a gift is born with height, born with speed, born with the ability to jump. That's a God-given talent. But working hard, having, like you said, the determination to say, I can push myself to the limit. That's something as you go on in your competitive career, you find and learn how to build that over time. Some people, like yourself, have it. Others don't really know where it is and they can't get it.
But then also going back to Arkansas, it's like I saw some guys who were just freaks, like I saw some guys do some, like Wallace Spearman. I don't know if you know who Wallace Spearman was. He's a silver medalist in the 200 meters. So like I watched Wallace Spearman, Tyson Gay. Tyson Gay used to race Usain Bolt.
Right, I know Tyson Gay.
I used to watch these guys work out, and then I would watch them work out with some other sprinters. And some other sprinters, they wanted to be Wallace. They wanted to be Tyson. They saw these guys go pro. So Wallace was making like $600,000 a year out of college. In Fayetteville, Arkansas, that's a lot of money, So like all these other sprinters wanted to be Wallace.
Right.
So they tried,
Right.
but they're just not. Wallace is a freak. He's a
Right.
talented freak. So some people, no matter what, it's like some people, no matter what, like if all of their focus is into football or hockey or whatever, they just won't be an MVP. They just can't be that. Same thing in running. It's like some people are just the best, and some people want to be the best.
I hear what you're saying, but I always look at it like this. If I took a player like LeBron James, who's an unbelievable athlete, right? And I said to LeBron, okay, when you're 19 years old, listen, you're not going to the NBA to play. We are going to now take you and we are going to teach you how to become a competitive long-distance runner. We're going to train you and get your lungs in the capability where you know how to run that type of distance, and we're going to train you to do that. I think that LeBron James, because of his athletic ability and his natural physical skill set, would be a very, very talented marathon or long distance runner. I don't think you could say what's
a
the
very
guy?
talent is innate. So you're saying he'd be a very skilled,
who could compete at a very high level in running. You know what I mean? Somebody who could compete on a level with the elite.
Okay, two things. One, LeBron James is not genetically fit.
But what's the other guy's name you said?
Tyson Gay?
Tyson
No,
Gay.
the other guy they wanted.
Wallace Spearman?
Wallace Spearman. I don't think you could take Wallace Spearman and say, we're going to turn you into a gifted basketball player.
Because genetically, Wallace is like 6'1", 6'2". He's not. LeBron James is 6'8", right? So 6'8", and then LeBron James, he's got like dense bones. Like he's a big guy.
Right.
That's why he can throw people around. That body type, no matter how many miles he runs, he's still gonna have thicker bones than Kenyan athletes, Ethiopian athletes, Japanese athletes.
Right.
So LeBron James, I don't think he could ever be.
But he has a long stride, so that might play to his advantage.
But I don't know if he.
You would just have to teach him to learn that.
But what about this? If you put LeBron James as like a striker on like a football team, or sorry, a soccer team.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, soccer team.
Yeah.
I have too many like Brazilian people
Right.
tell me football.
Soccer
but
team,
soccer team. If he was on a soccer team, the U.S. would have a couple World Cups.
Right, because he's an athlete. He can make the transition of being able to, because even soccer players, I look at them as tremendous athletes because of their ability to be able to run, stop, move, use athletic coordination. And when I say athletic coordination, that means those fast twitch muscles, the ability to run and stop on a dime, the ability to catch a pass with your feet and still have coordination to keep your balance, the ability to move laterally at a very high rate of speed, the ability to go from going forward to backwards, back to forward, that takes athletic ability. And guys like LeBron and guys who play soccer have that ability. Whereas when you become a competitive runner, you don't need none of that. All you got to be able to do is run straight ahead, but you have to now teach yourself the cardiovascular and all the other stuff to be able to run at a high rate of speed for a long period of time.
But you talk about the ability to go back and forth. That's endurance. So the guy who won Boston on Monday, he ran 2 hours and 9 minutes.
Right, which it's amazing.
So, that's the ability to go, right? To keep going, to go back and forth.
Right.
Endurance, right? So maybe you put Jeffrey Karui, like, could he be like I don't know who's the best like midfielder in soccer. Like a midfielder in soccer
like
has
a Lionel, what's his name, Messi.
Lionel Messi, yeah.
Right.
Like Lionel Messi has endurance. He also has speed.
Right.
He has focus. So he has many skills, but endurance is still this one
Right.
skill. But that Jeffrey Karui has to an extraordinary ability. So
Okay.
Jeffrey Karui has the endurance to run 2 hours and 9
Right.
minutes on a hot day in Boston, faster than 5-minute mile pace. That's some incredible
Right.
endurance.
So, but that's my point. But and I think soccer would be a very comparable. The athlete in soccer and the marathon runner, I think, is very comparable because when you look at the soccer player, you have to have amazing endurance because it's nonstop.
Some positions, yeah.
Right, certain positions, but it's nonstop. See, I think you could take a guy like Cristiano Ronaldo or a Messi and train them to be very, very talented, high level, high competitive long distance runners.
World
I don't know if
class.
the guy, what's the guy who won? Jeffrey
Karui.
I don't know if you could teach him that because he might not have the athletic coordination to be able to handle a ball with his feet, run, stop, kick, and do make people miss and do a lot of those things. That's why I always look at it like that.
I think it's breaking down to, after listening to this, that your definition of what an athlete are these multiple elements.
Yes.
Whereas Chris is saying, you could use one element, but it still qualifies as athleticism, even if it is just one. But for you, it needs to be more than one.
Right. For me, to be considered an athlete, you have to have the ability to do multiple things.
And endurance being one of them, for
endurance
example.
being one of them.
Whereas in running, endurance is like kind of the main aspect of it.
But it's like, if I talk about my opinion of the greatest long distance runner of all time, he has like the greatest endurance of all time.
Right.
First and foremost, he has that skill.
Right.
His name, Kinesia Bekele. So he has run, he has the world record in the 5K in a 12:36.
Okay.
So he's running like 4:17, like 4:03, 4:04 mile pace.
Right.
For 10,000 meters, he's run 26:13.
Okay.
So he's running like 4:15 mile pace. But so to keep that focus for 25
Right.
laps around the track, you have to be going 62, 62, 62, 62. You have to be a clock.
Right.
That is extreme focus.
Right, but see, let me ask you this, right? He's doing that mentally, so he's learned this thing throughout his running career, right? He has amazing endurance.
Just like all athletes, it's like you learned many things, like how to block,
Right, but
how to
but
hit.
you see, but you have to have the coordination to do a lot of. Let me ask you this question: who, in your opinion, do you feel like is the greatest athlete in the world?
So, I mean, according to the Olympics, that would be Ashton Eaton, the decathlete who has the world record in the decathlon. Ashton Eaton, he chose track and field.
Right.
So, I mean, if Ashton Eaton could probably make the U.S. World Cup soccer team.
Now that
Ashton Eaton could probably be.
Probably
could be an NFL wide receiver.
Right.
I might say that.
Now,
like
that is the only thing that I will give you is where when you say what is it? The
decathlon.
Decathlon, right? And I remember the commercial with Bruce Jenner and those two guys. Who were the two guys back in the day? They were tremendous.
Brian Clay.
The decathlon athletes. They had commercials about
the wrong person.
They had commercials about them. This was back. This was probably in the
Bruce Jenner was one.
early
or
90s. They had these.
Caitlyn?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
No, they had these.
Clear that up.
They had these two guys in the
Bruce
early
Jenner
90s.
was the decathlete.
Right. You're
Right, but there was two guys in the early 90s. They did like Wheatie commercials, and it was like they were these two.
Yeah, but anyway, so what?
All right,
Because I'm talking
anyways,
about the commercial.
I know, but I'm just trying to make a point here. Stay with me.
I'm trying.
The point that I'm trying to make is that you could take those guys because there's multiple events that they have to do. There's throwing the javelin, there's the long jump. So they have to have the ability to have that multiple fast twitch fibers, which allows them to jump, to throw. So I could see somebody like that being a guy who could make the transition into a different sport. But that's because they have that ability. They train those multiple things. Where I don't see marathon runners and guys who just focus on being able to do only one thing around.
Is it just that?
But
That's
no,
my
it's not.
question.
Go to the championship races. So we're talking about running fast.
Right.
But at championship races, it's not about the time. It's about the win. So it's like sometimes you'll see like the gun go off and it's a fucking walk. Like almost a fucking walk.
Right.
Nobody wants to take the lead because there's
So
so
it's like a
much
mental mind game in the beginning there.
Absolutely,
Right.
absolutely.
Right.
So you see, if I go back to Kinesia Bekele, he has the most extraordinary kick, unseen, at the end of a 10,000 meters, talking about fast twitch fibers. So he's run 24 laps, endurance, and then all of a sudden he can just turn on a kick and run 52 seconds for a 400 meters at the end of a 10,000 meter race.
Right.
It's insane.
Right.
It's literally insane. So
Right.
he has the focus, the endurance, he has the determination, he has the speed. And this is my opinion.
It's not just running in a line because it's like chess to a certain extent.
Well, I know
right?
there's always a mental element.
Chess has many mental elements, and it's like Bill Belichick. Why is Bill Belichick the greatest coach? It's like he's playing chess when every other fucking coach is playing checkers.
There's always a bunch of mental elements to whatever it is. Like golfers, I don't see them as athletes.
Did you see golfers as athletes, Chris?
I have mixed feelings about that. Honestly, not really. It's
See, why can't a golfer then come and say, "Listen, we there's a mental mind game. You have to have extreme focus and this, that, and the other."
But the focusness is like you have to be focused to drive. You have to be focused to read a book.
Right.
You have to be focused.
So why wouldn't you consider golfers
Right.
athletes?
Because they just have the focus to hit the ball. So I mean, sure, is strength necessary in golf? Can we do you guys feel that strength is important?
I don't think they're athletes.
I don't
question.
golf. I don't golf at
Right,
all.
but
I mini golf and I lose my mind.
I mean,
that's
some
all
of
I
these
really
dudes
do.
that are winning these don't look like the strongest motherfuckers.
Right,
So
right.
I don't
but
know
you're,
how important
but
it
you're,
is. It's
you're,
probably.
you would make do you make the question? Do you make the argument that they're not athletes? I would say they're not athletes, and then I would give my reasons on why I feel like they're not athletes. It's great skill to hit a golf ball, but I feel like you can teach anybody to do that. There are guys that go out here and play golf. Now, to do it at a high level, a competitive level, and be at an elite level where you're
See, Tiger Woods is an athlete.
No, he's not an athlete.
Dude, you see, the golf, he's hitting the ball, he's got insane focus.
That's a skill, though.
His arms, he's ripped. At the same time, Tiger Woods, he works out. He takes care of his body.
He's a glorified billiard player, somebody who plays pool with a skill. I mean, that's what I would compare Tiger Woods and golfers. So what they do.
Yeah, but look at Tiger Woods in his prime.
Yeah,
he was an athlete.
But I don't look at him as an athlete. Even in his prime, even if you're put together, there are plenty of people who go to the gym and look good with their shirts off. Doesn't mean they're athletes. What they do, and it's the same way in my opinion with competitive marathon runners at the highest level, they are very talented at the skill that they have. But the skill that they have, I feel like if you took pretty much anybody at a young age and you coached them up and you did a lot of things, you could teach them to compete at that highest level. Would you agree or disagree?
Okay, so I'll use the example of the guy who finished second because I think he's a very interesting guy to talk about.
The kid,
Galen Rupp, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he was a soccer player until he was about 15, 16.
He probably wasn't very good, and
Actually,
that's why he moved on.
He was. But his coach now is this guy whose New England record I broke, Alberto Salazar, a guy who
Alberto, what?
he won the Boston Marathon.
Right.
He won the New York Marathon. Alberto Salazar is one of the greatest.
Is he Kenyan?
He's Cuban born
Okay.
and then raised in Wayland.
Okay.
And then went to the University of Oregon.
Okay.
So Alberto Salazar was in Oregon and now he's starting to coach professionals and he sees Galen Rupp playing soccer one day at a local high school, and he just watched him. He just watched him running all over the field.
Right.
And he said, this kid is a good soccer player, but he can be a great runner.
But doesn't that make my point of where you can just go there and you can just look at a soccer player who might not be very good, and he's running and he has an unbelievable endurance. You're like, wow, look at that kid. I see kids all the time. You're like, Jesus, this kid can run all day long. And then there's the guy who says, you know what? I think this kid, with my coaching, my training, could be an elite marathon or long distance runner.
But the story of Galen Rupp is like so complex. Like, he became a Nike science project. Literally is what he is. First and foremost, I respect the hell out of Galen Rupp. He, to me, is an extraordinary disciplined athlete. And a lot of people criticize the fuck out of him because some of the things him and Alberto Salazar do is very gray area.
Right.
So in running, like, the biggest no-no is doping. It's like blood doping.
Yeah.
Right.
EPO, do you guys know what EPO is?
enhances red
any
blood
performance
cells.
enhancing, people are always going to look at them.
Well, so Galen Rupp and Alberto Salazar, Galen Rupp has a thyroid medication
Right.
for underactive thyroid.
Right.
So a lot of Alberto Salazar's athletes go to this one doctor in Houston, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
The same doctor who will diagnose them with an underactive thyroid, so they take thyroid medication to give them more energy.
Yeah.
He'll diagnose them with asthma, so they take an inhaler with a steroid in it. So they have
that gives him the ability to maybe go a little bit longer breathing wise
Yes.
because he has this.
That's not cheating?
the two together, the thyroid
Yeah.
with the steroid,
Yeah.
it increases the testosterone in the athlete.
Right.
So in my opinion, it's fucking absolutely cheating. You know,
Right.
it's absolutely cheating because it's like in Kenya, Ethiopia.
This is the dude that came in second place?
Yeah,
the dude who
Galen
came.
Rupp, yeah.
So I mean, yes, the coach saw him, but it's been a long road and a lot of
But-
sketchy shit
but
to
Chris,
get
I-
him where he is.
I look at it like this, like how this coach can go out there and look at that soccer player and say, but see, you're not going to see Bill Belichick go to a marathon or a high school track and field and go, you know what? This kid looks like he could be a tremendous wide receiver. That's
well,
the
because
point.
why would he when he can go to an SEC football game?
But the point that I'm trying to make is that to be a athlete, you have to be able to
Multiple things.
It's multiple things that
multiple-
you have to show with athletic. And I always equate athletic coordination. People, you always hear the saying, like a person who picks up a basketball or whatever. It's like, well, that kid got 2 left feet. He has no coordination, but you can teach that kid with 2 left feet to be an elite marathon runner.
But still, coordination is so important.
And how is coordination important in running?
It's all about running. It's your efficiency. How fast you are efficient. Running is physics.
Right.
So it's like if you look at the Kalenjin runners, the tribe from Kenya, that's the best.
Right.
The reason why they're the best is physics. It's like their bodies are just naturally built to run long distances.
Yeah.
Their skinny thighs, their skinny frames, and then they are born and raised at altitude in the womb at like 8,000 feet elevation.
Right.
That does crazy shit to your body. And so they have this genetic ability
Right.
to be the best. And that's one.
But how does coordination play into
It doesn't.
It
Into
does.
running?
It
Into
does.
run- how?
Okay, so right now, myself, I have a couple injuries I am trying to get past.
Right.
My left side is my dominant side. So it's like in all athletics, it's like weightlifting. If you're fucking squatting, can you be stronger on your left side than you are on your right side? Or is it better to have equilibrium?
It's obviously better to be
Yes.
equal.
Same thing with running. It's better to have
But
equilibrium.
with weightlifting, there's no coordination into putting weight on a bar and then you getting under that bar, lifting it up and squatting or bench pressing.
Really?
It doesn't take an athlete.
I need to
that.
talk to the Patriots weight coach or
Right, no, no,
something because
no, but
then
what-
like there definitely is coordination involved.
No,
in
no, it
squatting.
doesn't-
Even I know that, and I'm a goofy, uncoordinated
But it
runner.
doesn't take coordination into squatting, into bench pressing, into weightlifting. It takes coordination into maybe doing a hand clean or a power clean. But once you learn the technique of doing it, anybody could pick it up. I could teach Mark, who looks like he's never lifted a weight in his life.
Well, yo, I'm crushing kettlebells, motherfucker.
He's getting up at 4 a.m. and
Well,
lifting. every
he's
day.
lifting kettlebells, but I could teach him how to hand clean. And he's probably not coordinated, but I could teach him how to hand clean. So weightlifters, non-athletes, to me, you have to be able to multitask with your athletic coordination. And when I say that, I don't understand how people don't get. Like, running is something that every human being with 2 legs and 2 arms can do.
But what the thing is, it's not so one-dimensional is the point that you're not getting.
It all boomerangs back to what is the definition of athleticism.
Absolutely. And for you, it's multiple things. You got to fucking be, have a coordination and fucking stamina and all
Fast
that.
twitch
It's like,
muscles.
look at Babe Ruth. Like, Babe Ruth, some say is the greatest baseball
hand-eye
player of all time, right?
Well, not the best, but his hand-eye coordination was
one
amazing.
of the best. One of the
Right.
best, right? Like, he had the greatest hit. Like, so he had a lot of strength to be able to hit home runs
Right, and he had
out
an
of
unbelievable
Fenway,
hand-eye coordination
and
to be able to
hand-eye
see a
coordination.
90-mile
But the
fastball.
dude was smoking cigarettes,
Right.
fucking drinking during games.
Yeah, but
like,
that means
is that a real, like, is he,
Yeah,
like...
but that doesn't mean anything, though, as far as, he
Does
had...
it?
What?
Like, if you're
How does it not?
inebriating yourself?
How can you be a real athlete and you're smashing cigarettes?
Oh, no, because he had unbelievable hand-eye
But
coordination.
see, that's just one skill. Then he's not an athlete.
I
'cause you're
gave him,
doing
I
the
gave
big-
Babe Ruth the strength, too.
No,
Like,
but-
to hit a home run,
But
that
he is
takes
an athlete
more-
because he had to play the field. He had to be able to field ground balls. He had to be able to throw a ball. There was more to it than just that. Like David Ortiz, right?
Yeah.
You look at David Ortiz, unbelievable hand-eye coordination, but he still has the ability to play first base and field a ground ball. He had the ability to be standing static in a position.
Yeah.
And then a ball get hit to his left or right and use his athletic ability to make a move to it. Now, was he the greatest at it? No.
Right.
But he had that
he's
ability.
still using his mind in that second to make something happen, right?
Right.
It's like-
Yes, that's the coordination.
Right.
Yeah.
but
So
he needs the
but-
fast twitch muscles to go from left to
But
right.
so do runners when as they're running, they're figuring out, when should I increase my
Yes.
speed?
Yeah,
When
but
should I
that-
and then, when should I go all out? It's
But
all
see,
a
but
mental
that-
mind
but
game
you-
with the other
you're-
guys around you.
you're-
So your mind is
No,
also,
but-
I'm assuming, thinking all the time.
But the mental mind game, I wouldn't take nothing away. But there's no other movement beside either running faster,
maybe physically
slow,
there's no movement.
and that's the point that I'm
Not
making.
always true. Not always true. Watch like a 1,500-meter race on the track. So you have all these guys. Like, just the tension. Like, you come around, you have 2 laps to go, and you're still fucking just walking. So there's all this shit going through.
Yeah.
Everyone's saying, who's gonna make the break? Who's gonna make the break? And so then when somebody finally makes the break, they have to make sure they don't get stuck. Like, in that pack, there's elbows thrown around.
Right, but I mean-
like
it's all that.
Yeah.
That's what I meant when I said chess earlier.
Yes.
Because
Yeah, but see, I think what the problem is that you two guys are having here is that you keep going back to the mental element of whatever it is. There's mental elements involved in any physical activity that you do competitively at a high level. There is going to be, should I pick up my speed? Should I slow my speed? When should I lean forward? That kind of thing. When should I, they're always, when should I start to approach the ball? When should I start to lean? Is he going to throw a fastball, a curveball? There's always the mental thought process to it. That I understand. But to be an athlete, you have to be able to take that what's going on and then do that where you're not just in a position of moving forward. You have to then take that and be able to, okay, I am running for this ball. All of a sudden, I have to now change my position because the ball is thrown behind me. So I have to now turn my body. I have to have the athletic ability to put my left foot in the ground, open up my hips, reach up with both hands and catch the football. I have to now adjust the way that I'm going. A guy's coming at me. I have to stop on a dime and make him miss.
If we put an obstacle course on a 5K or a marathon, would those people that win, are they now athletes?
I would then lean more towards yes.
Okay, so
because now they have to show me they can jump over the hurdle, avoid the obstacle. Then I would say,
alligator.
There is the steeplechase. Do you guys know what the
Yeah,
steeplechase
where
is?
you jump- I've
you
never
jump
seen it,
over,
but-
over the water pit. Yeah.
Right.
And a lot of times the steeplechase is crazy. When most people who watch the steeplechase, they watch it like a NASCAR race. Like rednecks who want to see a crash. People will watch. I'm one of
it
those
gets
people.
aggressive?
I like to watch the steeplechase by the water pit to see people fall.
Right.
Like, you know, like, and when
But there takes some type of athletic coordination to be running and then jump over a pit of water. I will give you
and
that.
especially when people fall.
So those motherfuckers are athletes with the guy that came
I wouldn't say that they're necessarily athletes,
my
but I
God.
would say that it takes some type
the
of athletic.
definition is too, like,
But
strict.
if someone's running the steeplechase, somebody falls, someone hits their head, you got to not just jump the barrier, you got to jump the person on the barrier. So you have to make that same decision
I would
that you're
say
talking
this
about.
here.
Shit, where's the ball? Shit, where's the hurdle?
I would kind of say this here, right, and make it very simple. Golfers, marathon runners, even sprinters, swimmers, anything where I feel like you could take somebody and somebody doesn't need a lot of coordination to do. They will need the proper coaching and teaching. But anybody that you can just grab a 17-year-old kid who, you know, playing soccer or somebody who played hockey and really might not be the best athlete to play that sport. Hey, you know what we could do? We could teach you, and with your God-given work ethic and that you build over time, we can make you into an elite runner, swimmer, you know. Those
See,
type of
I
things.
think like if I was a weird guy who hung around schools, I could start finding kids be like, oh, I could make that kid into a great offensive lineman. Like, you know, I'm gonna start getting him to train.
That kid would need to have coordination.
He couldn't just be a runner.
He couldn't be just a runner. No, you could not grab Galen.
Could you grab a runner or what the fuck's his name?
Galen
Rupp.
Okay, maybe not him. Who the fuck was the other dude that you were in Arkansas with? His last name's Gay.
Oh, Tyson Gay.
Tyson
Can you
Gay
think
is a
Tyson
sprinter.
Gay would make him a wide receiver?
No, because they tried that before. They tried that before with guys who were sprinters. But you need more than you need the coordination of being able to adjust to a ball.
But if you
could
go out
teach
there,
Tyson Gay
exactly.
no,
So
you can't teach.
So, like, can you teach LeBron James to be a wide receiver?
But LeBron James is a tremendous
If
athlete.
you bring Tyson Gay to Bill Belichick,
Yes.
he wouldn't make him a good wide receiver.
No.
I don't believe
They
that.
tried
That's
it with
a hole in your argument.
listen.
I
They
think.
tried it with a guy by the name of James Jett, wide receiver for the Oakland Raiders. Okay, he was like a legit sprinter. They've tried this before with sprinters. The problem with sprinters is they don't have the coordination because they've never really did
But
any.
you could do the same thing with a LeBron James, and he
But
would be
you're talking-
mediocre in a race because he hasn't grown up being conditioned of how to win a
but
race.
you can condition him to win that race. And
I don't think so.
I think you could condition like a hammer thrower or like a shot putter to like be a decent lineman. You know, like they have this push. And, yeah,
No.
dude, you watch
They
the
might
shot
be
put.
strong.
They all have their fucking
They all-
grunt. It's like
listen,
Right.
that's like when you hit somebody, right?
They're strong. They could be strong, but you have to have. You guys keep missing. You have to have coordination to get your hands inside, to block, to move, balance, control your balance when people
And
are
runners,
pressing and
shot
pushing
putters,
on
they
you.
all have that as well.
Chris, I tell you what, it's been a pleasure. I will never take away accomplishments of what elite athletes do. I will never take that away.
He just called you an athlete.
Thank
You
you,
win.
Jermaine.
Wait a
Let's
second.
just
Thank you,
wrap
thank
it
you,
up.
thank you very
Hold on. Let me rephrase. I will never take away what the accomplishments of what people do in their respective competition, sports, whatever it might be, because I wouldn't necessarily say that.
You gotta like if someone's passionate about something, you gotta respect that.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
respect
Yeah.
that, and if their accomplishment, I could never run a marathon in under 2 hours in my prime or any other time. So I do respect what they do, and I never disrespect that. But when we start talking about athletes, there is
He's like the Hitler of the definition of athlete.
Yes,
he's like a Nazi.
there is athletes, and then there is everything. There is what people do at a very elite level, like golfers, marathon runners, race car drivers. They always want to be lumped up and thrown on to our side of the word of athlete. And I don't, they got to stay over there, but I don't take away what they do. And your accomplishments speak for themselves. And what you are doing right now. What else are you doing now? Is there anything else you're doing you might want to plug real quick?
Yeah, I coach a couple Kenyan guys right
Okay.
now. So I lived in Kenya for a while.
Imagine that, a white kid from
From Newton originally.
Newton originally
Represent.
coaching Kenyans.
Amazing.
That
And he's
is-
not an athlete. Go fuck yourself.
That is truly amazing to me because when I look at the Boston Marathon winners, it's always Kenyans. It's always so. Maybe one day you'll coach some young kid from Newton, young white black American kid, and maybe he'll win the Boston. Because I would love to see an American win the.
Yeah,
marathon.
absolutely. I'd love to see someone from Boston
Oh,
win,
Well, that'd
win
be
the
nice,
Boston
but I'd love
Marathon.
to see an American-born male win the Boston Marathon.
Yeah.
We haven't had.
Although
that.
not Galen Rupp. Honestly, I'm happy Galen got second.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay,
'cause-
But he
See,
cheats.
yeah,
so
because of the
fucking-
sketchy shit. Yeah,
See,
like
he was the guy that I was saying, hey, maybe next year. We'll be
Yeah,
this
yeah,
year.
no.
But if he is cheating and he is taking advantage, he's kind of like in the Lance Armstrong
Yeah.
world.
Oh,
I'm not,
definitely.
I don't really agree on that. So you're coaching Kenyan runners. Or
Yeah.
what else you doing?
I'm a activist for accepting cannabis into the world of sports.
Woo!
Okay.
I
So,
like that.
Now you're speaking my language because I think weed should, athletes should be able to smoke weed because it helps with pain.
Yeah, you're
Absolutely.
stressed out.
And it's also like like in college I got drug tested a lot.
Did you smoke weed in college?
Yeah, so like some of the shit, like I used to see football players in the sauna, and they would just give me a head up, like, yep, like yeah,
getting
yeah.
high today.
And they're like, we're sweating it
Yeah, we're
out,
sweating
you
that
know,
weed out.
like,
Oh, okay.
and so like some of the shit I did to my body, like I don't want to see kids have to do now, like the fact that cannabis is legal in 7 states, and the fact that college kids in these states can't instead they have to go get shit faced on the weekend, which is
Right.
not probably as good for you as hitting a joint or having an edible or whatever.
I'm much more of an advocate for. I mean, I know college kids are gonna drink. I would much rather see college kids smoke weed and get high. I have a daughter who's in college, and if it came down to it and I had to choose between her drinking and her smoking weed, I'd much rather her smoke weed because you never really see the person getting shit-faced blackout high.
Right.
You know what I mean? You never
Well,
see.
you can. I've dabbed out before. I don't know if any of you guys dab at all.
No.
but
No,
like,
but I mean, I don't know. I'm talking about regular weed from the earth. No,
like a dab. Like a dab is like a hit of wax or shatter or rosin, like concentrates.
This is next level weed
this is
shit.
next level.
I
I'm
just
talking
moved
about
back from California.
Yeah, I'm
where-
talking about just your regular.
like a joint, like
Yeah,
flour,
yeah,
right?
your regular oregano looking weed. Okay, that you.
Or not oregano, but like flour, like is broken up, like
Yeah, yeah.
nug,
you
a
broke it
nug
up,
you break
put it
up,
in a
yeah.
blunt or a joint, that kind of thing.
By the way, just real quick, if you Google Chris Barnicle, the first thing that pops up is world's fastest stoner. Chris
Yeah.
Barnicle.
So
talks
talking about the marathon, last year in 2016 I had qualified for the marathon trials.
Yep.
And I was living in LA, and I had qualified like a couple years before I kind of like left competitive running.
Right.
And so I was working in the cannabis industry in California, and so I lived in LA, and the marathon trials were in LA, and I was qualified. So I said, fuck it, I'm gonna run the marathon.
Yeah.
And so I ran the marathon, and I ran maybe under the influence of cannabis, and I ran the slowest time in men or women's history of the Olympic
'cause
trials.
you can't. I will say this:
That's
you
awesome.
should never try to compete competitively in anything.
That's where I disagree. The marathon is a 2.5 or longer hour race.
Right.
But like for like the way, like I don't know if you ever use cannabis to lift, like you're connected
You
with
get
the
mad
fucking
focus
body.
to the weight.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The-
but
the
I would
blood
never tell
flow.
a football player to get high and go out there and play in a football game.
I don't know. I think it could be
No,
beneficial.
it will mess you up because some people they smoke weed and they get paranoid and all. They'll never be. You need to be mentally focused.
But what if you need to create new plays? Like you need to create a new play to throw the defense off.
So you're saying you're smoking weed to create new plays, and maybe because you're so high, you'll come out with this elaborate play.
I mean, when I create my schedule for my Kenyan guys, I like take
You're
a
mad high.
no, a little. I take yeah, kinda. I take the methodology of this
Yeah.
coach that I trained under, this Italian guy, Renato Canova, who has like a few world record guys, I take his training style, I take some of his workouts,
Right.
but I have to be creative to
Right,
fit
right.
it to my athletes.
Well,
So
yeah.
like cannabis helps with a lot.
Helps with your
Yeah.
creativity.
Yeah,
is what you're
absolutely.
saying.
Yeah.
Maybe don't smoke during
Maybe
game
Bill,
day.
maybe
Right.
Bill Belichick is a closet
Maybe Bill
stoner.
Belichick
I don't know.
should smoke a little weed,
maybe.
and then he'll, his plays will become more creative. But I just think that I think that weed is not. I don't think that's a problem. If guys are smoking weed and they're playing sports and they're old enough and that kind of thing, I would much rather see guys smoking weed than drinking alcohol.
Or like if people have practice the next day, it's like, what's better if you just want to like have a little fun with your friends, to like smoke a joint or to like have a
30
right.
or just drink a few shots of tequila.
Right,
Like,
I would agree with you there, and I think it does help with a lot of the, dealing with pain, and some people, after a game or something like that, your body's aching, you lay back, you blaze a joint or a blunt, whatever it is, or whatever.
Next second you're
the
stretching.
new level of smoking.
I want to smoke now.
Right, the new level of smoking weed that Chris was
I got
trying
a
to
joint
break
in my
down.
pocket right now. I don't know if
Of
smoke in the
course you
studio.
do. That's what's up.
If we weren't where we were at, I would tell you to light it up, but
Right.
But no, like I said, I gotta thank you for coming on
Thank you,
Wiggy's
man.
World.
And
I hope you had fun.
No, I've never met a Patriot before, so it's an honor to meet you.
And I
as well.
never
Thank you.
met a high-level, competitive marathon runner, a guy who set records in college and high school. I've never met one that I could truly debate on whether or not they were an athlete.
Well, yeah, and I hope that maybe someday you'll run the Boston Marathon.
That will
Who
never
knows?
happen.
Yeah.
You have a better chance of playing in the NFL, which will never happen, so I will never run the marathon. So I appreciate it. Once again, that's Wiggy's World. You know how we do it. We are out. See you at the Boston Marathon in 2000 and never.